one major injury concern this week, and that is tight end Sam Laporta injured his left shoulder in the win against Houston. Missed his second straight practice today. Could he play? Could he not play? Do you sit him out in this game just because you're a 14-point favorite against the Jags? Lingering issues with this. Talk to me about Sam Laporta injuring his left shoulder. What is it? I'm seeing an AC joint sprain or something like that?
Yeah, I think we have some anatomy here. If we can pull that up, we can kind of walk through it. But here it shows you. I did it on the show the other day, but it's basically, if you're looking, it's right there. It's not really the shoulder. It's where the collarbone comes into the shoulder. Mm-hmm. So it's the acromioclavicular, all that's fancy words. But there's ligaments in between there that gets disrupted. So when you see that he fell, both his arms were being held as he fell. So he took all that brute force onto the shoulder itself. So that joint is what gives away. Unfortunately, he didn't break anything. So that's a good news. But when you look at that ligament, it's very powerful. Like if you're doing, especially for a tight end, when he's blocking, when he's reaching up for the ball, that AC joint plays a major role. So we're looking at disruption of it. We're looking at impingement of it. So he's got probably a little of both. And right now, he's sitting out the last 2 days. We got to look ahead to what the Lions have to look for in the future. Like I've said multiple times, we evaluate injuries differently where they are in the season. And right now, I think we're pretty comfortable in the season. To put him back out there prematurely for no reason, like I said it on Tuesday, I think we should probably sit him, let him rest properly, let that joint properly heal, put a little secret sauce in it, let him recover. I mean, he's recovering from his ankle. He's had a few little injuries that a little time off for that guy, and a Lions, I'm not predicting the win, but they should have a little bit more comfort with this week.
I got to agree with Doc on this. My first preseason game, my second preseason game as a rookie, I played against Carolina Panthers, and I sprained my AC joint. So same thing when I was watching that demonstration. That was amazing, by the way. It was like back down memory lane. And what the Browns did was, as opposed to sitting me out the last preseason game, and then you got that extended time before the opening season, they had me playing that last preseason game, and then I started in the opening game as well. And I felt my AC joint. It bothered me probably about the next 2 to 3 weeks. Eventually, it dissipated and went away. But if they didn't play me in that preseason game, I would have been much better when the season started, and I wouldn't have to wait till week 3 to be back good. So to your point, it's the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're very comfortable at 8-1 in the league. Like, you sit them because you know you're going to win this game, and like you said, you want him down the line. You want him to have range of motion. A lot of the catches he makes, those high catches here, those are catches here and in front of him. You want him to have full range of motion.
Yeah, but he's also blocking. He's got a lot more to the game. That's going to be a major thing. He's going to have no power out of that area. And it's a game-time decision. But I think for this, it does respond well. There's no fractures, no disruption to the actual rotator cuff, which we're more worried about when we talk about shoulder injuries. So I put AC joint comments in its own category. Mm-hmm. It's approaching the shoulder. It's not the shoulder itself.
What about Taylor Decker sat last week. He's expected to play this week with a rotator cuff strain. Right. Rotator cuff strain. Is that? I feel like that AC joint is right there at the rotator cuff, is it not?
It's like I said, it's the entrance. So it's the big collarbone.
Yeah.
The clavicle that leads into the joint. If we want to pull up I don't know if we have the actual picture, but you're talking rotator cuff. Those are muscles, right? Mm. So there's 4 big muscles that come around the rotator cuff for the ball and joint socket. So it separates that. So there's no muscle on there. So the actual rotator is not there. The rotator is actually, when you talk about shoulder joint, you're talking about bones, right? We're talking about the ball and socket. We're talking about the collarbone coming into that ball and socket. There's all separate bony anatomy. When we talk about rotator cuff, we're talking about the muscles around it. There's 4 big muscles around it. There's the 2 labrum within it that holds that socket in nice and tight. So that's where he's dealing with, a lot different than the AC joint, where we're talking about the bony parts that come in there and then the ligaments that kind of create that meshwork that hold it all together. Does that a little too much anatomy?
No, it's great. I love it. I want to big injury around the league this week. Dak Prescott did undergo surgery to repair a partially torn hamstring. That just sounds painful.
Tore off the bone.
Tore off the bone, the hamstring, partially torn hamstring. What's that recovery look like, and how severe of an injury is that?
So we've had a lot of hamstring injuries, and I've talked about it where the mid-belly ones are the ones we want to have if we have to have one. When it gets up to the bone and the attachment, then it leads to that integrity of that muscle just kind of reeling back, right? It recoils on it. So you got to strengthen that, pull the muscle back to attach to the bone. So that's a longer recovery, much longer recovery. It'd be questionable if he returns this year. The way Dallas is looking, I don't know what they're going to look like for him to even be motivated to return.
He won't be there anyway, so it won't matter. He won't be there anyway. They're blowing the whole thing up. Doc, here's a question I want to ask you, and I've had this question for a long time.
All right.
Hip pointers. I saw a couple hip pointers over the last couple weeks, hip pointers. And hip pointers, for those of you who don't know, you'll see it in a game and you'll say, why can't this guy go back in? All he has, nothing really happened. It's a hip pointer. When I tell you, it is some of the most excruciating pain for a it's not injury, but like pain or like getting hurt. What is it that happens when you have a hip pointer, and why is it so painful? And because when you get it, you're not coming back in.
So when you say a hip pointer, you're talking. There's a few different definitions. So hip pointer typically is a helmet to the thigh, right?
Okay.
A helmet into the either thigh or the hip joint.
Yes.
And what that does, it creates that bone bruise or muscle bruise. And when that bone is bruised, you're talking about a deep bruise into the muscle that just messes with the integrity of it. So it's very uncomfortable from a system standpoint.
Yeah.
It's like I can't think of it. It's like taking a hammer into the wood, but it doesn't break, but you kind of shatter it a little bit.
Gotcha.
And it doesn't, there's not a fracture. It's kind of falling in between. And now you have all that bruising and that deep muscle bruise, and then you get blood around it. And then a lot of times if it's mistreated, that blood will accumulate and then it'll harden, and then it's even worse. And then people think, I have to baby it. The worst thing to do is to baby it. And then as the game goes on, it actually gets gradually worse. Like, it's not one of those things you can run through it.
One of the most excruciating pains I've ever felt is when I had a bone bruise and waited to get it worked on and get it out. And I went to my massage therapist, and they actually have to break up that blood. Oh my God, it's a pain. It's a pain.
Hey, let me ask you about talking about shoulders and AC joints and big injuries around the NFL. How about the team that the Lions are playing this week? Trevor Lawrence is sitting this one out with a sprained AC joint in his left shoulder.
How ironic is that?
Isn't that something?
I'm telling Trevor is a tough guy. I'm sorry. What side is it? His right side?
Left
it's
side.
Left side. So
non-throw. He is a lefty.
He's right.
Is he a writer?
He's righty.
Oh, he's righty. Okay.
Righty. Don't.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not as good as you guys, but don't mess with me.
Now I'm like looking at all his dropbacks in my head. I'm like, no, he's righty.
Yeah. The integrity of it, he can baby it a little bit more because he's not up there blocking and catching. He's right-handed. But again, it's that integrity of it, right? And there's different degrees. Don't think all AC joints are created equal, right? We have that grading 1 through 3. Was there a complete disruption? Is there a tear? Is there separation? Like when you get that collarbone separated, like a lot of hockey players do, where they get that big bump, that's a true separation of the AC joint. Laporta and those guys, he had more of a compression to it. I didn't see Lawrence's area if it was more of a separation or a compression, because that makes a difference what's happening to the ligaments. Because if it's like hockey is big on check or something, you're getting, a lot of hockey players, their glory is they have a pure separated AC joint where it's like this, where I don't know if I can do this legally on TV, but you want to keep it where the integrity is not missing, right? So you look at the alignment. The alignment's a big thing on what you're doing for critical AC joint issues.
You going to Chappelle tomorrow, or anybody interesting?
Oh,
there was a big concert last night at LCA. Chappelle is tomorrow. I've actually missed every one of his, even the ones he's done for Netflix. because one, they
He's
did
got
a
the
big
phone
COVID.
policy too.
Huh?
He's got their phone policy. Like you can't
Yeah.
take your phone in. You got to lock it up for 3 hours. I'm not with that.
Yeah, he's got
His
the
work
phone
for bro.
policy, so he'll be
I've
at the
seen him before. So
Yeah.
that's right.
Oh,
He's
okay.
at the Fox tomorrow, so I'm looking to go. But there's another young rapper star at the LCA that the kids want to go to.
No
so.
kidding.
42 Doug.
Oh, Don Tolliver's.
Oh,
Don
Don
Why do
Toliver?
your
Yeah.
kids know that?
And he's Don Toliver's dope.
No, yeah,
he's an
he the man.
R&B rap hip hop.
Yeah,
He does the
can I
whole
say
thing.
it's dope and lit and all that stuff?
You can say that. At 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John
Yeah.
Oliver?
Don
Don
Toliver.
Tolliver.
Don Toliver.
So he's sold out at LCA. So there's a lot going on down there besides
Okay,
just
I'll put it.
Pistons winning an overtime game.
There you go.
So we got to
Last
throw them
night.
in the mix.
no doubt.
Okay.
Well, good stuff, Doc.
You think?
Good stuff.
Always good. Always
Absolutely.
good, baby.
Always look forward to chatting with you, my
Yeah.
friend, and we'll see you next week.
Perfect.
Attention sports fans, don't miss out on Expert Sports Injury Insight with Dr. Jeff Pierce of Michigan Sports and Spine. Join Dr. Pierce every Tuesday during Big D Energy and Thursdays during Ermanni and Edwards, where he offers top-notch injury advice. Trust the guy that I trust. Dr. Jeff Pierce is here to keep you in the game and performing at your best. For more information, visit MichiganSportsandSpine.com or call 248-426-9944.